never wanted to kill anybody.
Great. First of all, congrats on the movie. I watched it. I had a really good time with it. So I'm actually looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. Awesome. I love hearing that.
Great. So, I mean, the first question I need to ask you is what is it about Off the Grid that drew you to the project and convinced you that you were the right person to do it?
Well, it was really what I was hesitant on doing an action movie because I'm tired of seeing a guy fight 200 guys and kill 150 guys and have the training to do that. I'm like, what if we grabbed a guy that was a scientist and he doesn't have the ability to do anything like this, but has to figure it out through his brain. And then I start and before we wrote the script, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So I always try to put actors in mind when I do it. So I started researching all these actors, and I was always a fan of Josh DeMille, and I realized that he had property in Minnesota and he was off the grid there. And I'm like, wait a minute, we got this. So I started watching every YouTube interview I could with him. And then I'm like, okay, this is our guy. So I developed him. And then when we developed Ranish, I'm like, okay, wait, we need a villain that's not a villain that everyone wants to love, but still has to hate. And I'm like, Greg Kinnear doesn't play villains enough, and I need that in there. And then as far as the story wise, it was important for me. I didn't want the lead actor to ever have a gun in his hand. I always wanted him to figure out a way out of it, but not be so talented that it was the John Wick kind of a style.
Yeah.
He needed to figure it out as he went. So like in the fight scene, he didn't know what punch he was going to throw. He didn't know how he was going to get out of it. He doesn't know how. The only thing he knows is that when he gets ready to do the booby traps and all the rigs that we made, that's when he was in his room there. That's when he was ready to go.
It's actually quite interesting. You mentioned the fight scenes, the action scenes, because certainly got like a vibe of MacGyver in terms of the sense that he has to figure out what's around him, but also like not to overuse it, but Home Alone for adults. Like, he has to do whatever's around him. So I was just curious, what were some of the movies that you drew inspiration from for these specific sequences?
Really, because I come from the action world, and I was involved in so many action scenes and everything else. And the thing is, being an ex stuntman, I just remember the emotion that I had when I would do action. And that to me was always interesting, more to me than the action itself. So if I could bring that kind of action where I always stay true to the actor, especially one eye, because the one eye really tells you what he's feeling, the way he looks and the way he feels and everything else, and the emotions of it was very, very, very important to me to bring out in this movie. And that's kind of what I wanted to figure out, how to deliver something different. But so really it was me trying to recreate the wheel, I guess, and try to figure out an action movie that you could see for the first time. And you're right, it is a MacGyver style, but not with such deadly weapons.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously mentioned that you saw Josh in mind originally for the lead role, and also somebody like Greg as well. What was it like having those conversations with them? Because essentially, as what you're telling me now, is you're writing the movie with them in mind. What if they said no?
On every script I do, I always will. If we have an actor that we're going to go out to, I will say, "Hold on a minute, I got to rewrite the script." And I rewrite scripts until you have to rewrite for an actor to look at a script and say, "Okay, that's me." And if you think that you have the greatest script in the world and you're delivering it to the actor, well, you're not fitting to him. And so to me, I always adjust. Like when I had it with Josh, I didn't have Greg written as quite as tight. When I got it to Greg, I rewrote the script for Greg. When I got it to Ricky, I totally rewrote that character. It was supposed to be, it was just written as a villain. Well, now I need to have a villain that doesn't have to say a word, that could do it all with his moves and make his head feel like it's 20 pounds heavier, that it's ahead of its body, and just create this kind of character that, because Greg is so powerful as an actor and Josh is, that Ricky could just come in and melt in there if he could just do that certain look and walk. I think that's where you start balancing out the script. So really I think I probably have done 75 rewrites on the script before we shot it, just because, once you get the actor, then his notes, and then once you get the locations and everything else, you're constantly trying to make it better every day.
I mean, in the director's statement or in the production notes, it actually mentions, I think you wrote it as well, you mentioned it, you and Josh worked together specifically, which we flesh out his character and improvised a lot on set as well to get the right tone and the right everything that you need for it. What was something that came out of these moments that you think made the film that much more stronger? I know that's collaboration.
You know what's funny is that I would say the worst thing that happened and the best thing that happened to me was this movie got pushed months after months after months, and it gave me and Josh a chance to have a 2-year relationship, and it became a friendship to a brotherhood. And what happens between when you have that is trust. Trust to be able to say you're wrong. Trust to be able to say I have a better idea than you do. And to be able to do that together like brothers and understand, respect each other to where, believe me, to me, I'm not a director I'm the smartest guy on the set. To me, it's a collaboration. And when Greg speaks, I bring Josh in. I say, okay, let's talk about this, guys. This is our movie. We all have everything to lose from this together. Let's all as a team together talk about this. And most of the scenes in this movie, a lot of them are not scripted. I mean, I think every scene in this movie was changed on the day, sitting with the actors to make sure that we were telling every answer to every story, that if you watch this movie, what question do we leave unanswered? And Greg would really come prepared. He was ready. He had script notes. He had everything going. We didn't answer this in three scenes from now. Let's do it here. And that's where this movie really molded together. Without these two actors and myself, this movie wouldn't have been what it was. It really wouldn't have.
You briefly touched upon Ricky as well earlier, especially as Marcus, the character. For me, like he was a scene stealer in the movie, like in a lot of things. Like he was just such a really good such a really good bad guy. Have you ever worked with Ricky before this movie?
It's funny you say it because with that 2-year period I had, I would watch 2 to 3 movies a day in my theater room, and just say I got to find the right villain. I got to find the right villain. And a year went by and I still didn't find him. Casting directors send me people, and I wouldn't even look at the interviews. I didn't want to. I said I'll find my own guy. And so I finally found. I saw I Am Tanya, and Ricky didn't have hardly any dialogue. He just walked. And when I saw his walk, I go, I got to talk to him. So I reached out on Instagram and Facebook, and I said, please call me. I do have a movie. Just please call me. And he finally called me, and I said, can you do me a favor? Can you read for me? I'm going to send you 2 pages, but do me a favor. Leave out all the dialogue, but show me the dialogue. Just don't say anything. And I go, if you could do that, then we'll find the words to say if we need them. And he performed this thing that was just so unbelievable by bringing his head forward, by the looks, and by the balance of we had to find this balance of not being a villain to be a villain to be a villain. You had to know that when Greg came in the movie and he was a villain, nice guy in a way, that you had to melt into him and be okay with being not so villainish. And if you could do that, but still be annoyed in the back of your head, that's where you're going to stand out. And Ricky just constantly nailed that. He constantly would. And by the way, when you see him eat an egg, that was 14 eggs he ate. When you see him drink that water, that was 9 bottles of water he drank in 10 minutes.
Found that the film ends on an interesting note, so I won't spoil it for anyone who might be watching it or reading the interview. What was the original planned ending from the beginning, or was it deliberately left open for the possibility of sequel down the line?
To me, you always have to leave it open, and you always. I mean, look at a lot of my movies. I've always felt that an ending that left you kind of feeling dark or it was good, and really it's not. You really have to let the audience enjoy your moment and enjoy walking out of the theater still with a smile on their face. And when you got an actor like Josh Mill, who's got so much charisma and he's such a movie star, that you got to leave the movie with the movie star. And when you have Greg Kinnear battling it out, as we won't give it away, the ending, there's no way I was going to let Greg lead this movie. And to me, that was my homage to Tony Scott. Tony Scott trained me, told me how to be a true filmmaker, and told me all the yes and no's of this business. And so that was my homage to Tony from Enemy of the State, to say thank you to him. And I told Greg then he was a big fan of the movie too. So.
It's and for my final question, ultimately, what is the main message you want the audience to take away from Off the Grid?
Well, it's a message I wish it would get out worldwide, and that is that we are a restricted industry right now, especially in the independent world, where we're not fortunate to shoot movies like we did 20 years ago. We are limited now to be able to have to shoot movies from 16 to 19 days, where the Mission Impossibles of the world, they get 120 days, and so we're struggling every single day to do whatever we can. And you may not see what you thought we should have gone bigger or whatever, but we're really working hard. I mean, there was wasn't a day that we wrapped that I didn't stay around with the DP and Josh or Greg and say, let's just go out, the three of us, and shoot more stuff and shoot more stuff. And we were going on weekends. We were going, when we went home, I'd go to Josh's house. We were just shooting everything that we possibly can. I'd borrow cameras. I would steal everything I could. Like in the final scene, we didn't have a location. And so really it was four of us that went out to the LA train station and kind of put it underneath a coat and snuck that whole thing in and didn't even close off the street, and just said, Josh, you get on the spike here. And so you really have to struggle to make a movie in today and to try to make the audience still happy. But please don't compare us to all the huge movies. Just enjoy this movie for what it is, and just know that we worked so freaking hard on this movie.
Hey, thank you so much, Johnny. I appreciate your time and good luck with the release of Off the Grid.
Thank you so much for watching it.